The sixth apparition occurred on 1st July 1876 after 4 months from the fifth apparition. When I knelt down to say my prayers, my mind, as usual, reverted to the visions I had seen in February. It was 10:15 o'clock. I was on my knees before the fireplace when all of a sudden I saw the Blessed Virgin surrounded by a soft radiant light as she had formerly appeared. Only this time I saw her whole figure from head to foot. What beauty, what sweetness! She was all in white and remained standing. When I perceived her, she had her arms stretched out, and from her hands there fell drops like rain. Then taking one of the tassels of her cincture, she raised it to her chest, on which she crossed her hands. She smiled and looking at me said, "Be calm, my child. Have patience. You will have sorrows, but I will be with you." The tassel of her cincture, which she held, fell from her hands. It passed quite close to me. I said nothing. I could not speak. I felt too happy. The Blessed Virgin remained a little while longer. Then she said to me, "Courage, I will come again." She then disappeared very slowly, as she had done in the month of February. I went to bed at 10:30 o'clock. I woke at 11:30, got up to see what time it was. Seeing what time it was, I hoped to see the Blessed Virgin before midnight. I knelt down and said half the Hail Mary. The Blessed Virgin stood before me. I could not finish the prayer. I was too happy. She appeared the same as she did last night, the drops of rain falling from her hands, and as she stood there in a soft halo light, there was in the background a wreath of roses surrounding her. Then she crossed her hands upon her chest. "You have already published my glory." Then she confided to me a secret which I cannot reveal. Continued to do so. "My son has also some souls attached to him. His heart bears such love for mine that he cannot refuse me any requests. Through me he will touch the most hardened hearts." Continue. Then I wished to ask her for a proof of her power, but I felt embarrassed. I did not know how to express myself. She understood me and with a loving smile replied, "Is not your cure one of the greatest proofs of my power? I have come especially for the conversion of sinners." She remained with me a good while longer and then slowly disappeared. The wreath of roses remained after she was gone, then gradually faded away. I saw again the Blessed Virgin. She only remained 5 minutes. She reproached me gently. "I would wish that you were still more calm, more peaceful. I have not told you which day or hour I shall return, but you need rest." Then Our Lady disappeared. For several days, I have wished to revisit the room in which I had been cured. At length, on the 9th of September, I have been able to do so. I was finishing the rosary when the Blessed Virgin appeared. She was the same as on the 1st of July. Before speaking to me, she looked around in silence. Then she said, "You deprived yourself of a visit from me on the 15th of August. You were not sufficiently calm. You have indeed the French character, wishing to know all without learning anything, and to understand everything before knowing it. I would have come to you yesterday too. Again you deprived yourself of it. I was waiting for this act of submission and obedience from you." At that moment, I understood perfectly that if I had not been submissive and obedient, I would have deprived myself of ever again beholding her. She paused, then said, "For a long time the treasures of my son have been open. Let them pray." Saying these words, she raised a small piece of woolen cloth which she wore upon her chest. I had always seen this, but without knowing what it meant. As she took it up, I perceived a red heart. I thought all at once that was a scapular of the Sacred Heart. I love this devotion. It is here I will be honored. Then Our Lady disappeared. The Blessed Virgin came early at the same hour. She said, "Let them pray." I showed them the example. While speaking, she joined her hands, then disappeared. It was then 2:15. She appeared as usual, her arms stretched out, drops of rain falling from her hands. She looked about in every direction and then told me, "I will remember the efforts you have made to be calm. It is not only for your own sake I ask this, but also for that of the Church and for France. In the Church, there is not the calm I desire. There is something else then." Then she continued, "Let them pray and let them have confidence in me." The Blessed Virgin looked sad as she added, "And France, what have I not done for her? How many warnings, and yet she refuses to listen. I can no longer restrain my son. France will suffer." Then she paused and said, "Courage and confidence." At that moment, the thought occurred to me, if I say this, it is likely no one will believe me. The Blessed Virgin understood me, for she replied, "I have arranged all beforehand. So much the worse for those who may not be willing to believe you. Later on, they will recognize the truth of my words." Then she gradually disappeared. Today at last, November 1, I once more saw this good Heavenly Mother. She appeared as usual with her arms stretched out and wearing the scapular she had shown to me on September 9. She did not speak, but at last, casting her eyes on me with an expression of the greatest kindness, she disappeared. About 2:30, I went to my room to say my rosary, and when I finished it, I saw the Blessed Virgin. She looked at me and smiled, saying, "I have chosen you." She paused a moment and then continued, smiling, "I choose the little ones and the weak for my glory. Courage, the time of your trials is approaching." Then she crossed her hands upon her chest and disappeared. On Saturday, I again beheld the Blessed Virgin. I went to my room to pray, having felt for several days previously an impulse to do so which I could not account for. I even wished to set out in the morning so that I might have more time, but God had now His designs. I could not go until the afternoon, and it was about 4 when I reached my room. I had finished my beads and said a memorare when the Blessed Virgin appeared. She looked as usual. Her arms were stretched and she wore the scapular. When she appeared, she remained silent for some time. Then she said to me, "You have not lost your time today." Our Lady said this because Estelle was making a scapular that day. It will be necessary to make many more. Courage. Then she disappeared, crossing her hands upon her chest. This day, after High Mass, I once more beheld my sweet mother. She was more beautiful than ever. She was encircled by a wreath of roses, as in the month of July. When she appeared, she remained for some time without speaking. Then she said, "Recall to mind all my words." At that instant, all that she had said since the month of February recurred to my memory. She said to me, "My child, remember my words. Repeat them often. They will strengthen and console you in your trials. You will see me no more." Then I exclaimed, "What will become of me without thee, my good mother? I will be invisibly near you." The Blessed Virgin held her scapular with both hands. She said, "Arise and kiss it." The Blessed Virgin bent towards me, and I kissed it. It was for me a moment of delight. You will go yourself and see the prelate. You will present to him the model scapular you have made. Tell him that he is to help you with all his power, and that nothing will be more acceptable to me than to see this livery on each of my children, and that they all endeavor to repair the outrages received by my divine Son in the sacrament of his love. See the graces I will bestow on those who will wear it with confidence, and who will assist you in propagating it. While speaking thus, the Blessed Virgin stretched out her hands, and from them fell an abundant rain, in each drop of which I seemed to read such graces as piety, salvation, confidence, conversion, health, in a word, all sorts of graces, more or less favored. Then the Blessed Virgin added, "These graces are from my divine Son. I take them from his heart. He can refuse me nothing." Then I said to her, "My good mother, what should be on the other side of the scapula?" She replied, "I reserve it for myself. You will submit your thought and the church will decide." I knew that this good mother was about to leave me now. She gently ascended, still looking at me, saying, "Courage. If he does not do what you desire, go higher up. Fear nothing. I shall assist you." Our Lady disappeared. So this was a beautiful history of Our Lady of Pellevoisin. Thank you so much for watching.